Hello. It's November the 16th, 2023. I have no little song today. I did watch the CMAs after the fact over a period of like 3 different times. I don't know. I don't always get the time to actually sit down and watch a whole movie at one time. Or like that was 2 hours. Really, really good show. I liked how Lainey Wilson is taking home everything. Old Dominion won some stuff. Jelly Rolls on fire, literally. Brothers Osborne took it home. John Osborne, my third favorite guitar player. Keith Richards, number 1. Lindsay L, number 2. John Osborne, number 3. But it was nice to see them take home another award. I think what's really neat about watching those shows is how these people that win all of this stuff, they understand how small of a piece they are in this big puzzle. Lainey Wilson giving thanks to Jesus, and they all humble, strong people. But what I did is I just read the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Really good book. And to help me remember things, I write down a lot of stuff. So I'm just going to kind of go through some of the notes, stuff that I wrote down from this book. Mark Manson, I think that's who it is. Let's see. I think it's Mark Manson. Let's see. Subtle. Can't do that right now. I think it's Mark Manson. Last name Manson. Not Marilyn. Mark Manson. So, the more you want to be loved, the lonelier you get. The avoidance of struggle is struggle. When you have no problems, the mind automatically makes some up. And he would give a lot of stories in this book to kind of paint a picture of what he was talking about. So I think with this story, day's great, blah, 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 blah. You pull your utensils out the drawer, you'll notice if they're not shiny. Like you see the dishwasher commercials where if you use the right dishwashing detergent, your utensils come out shiny. And if you're having a terrible day, you're not going to see that fork and notice how beautiful those utensils are because your dishwasher. When things are going right, you're a lot more likely to pull that fork out and see what the hell's wrong with it. And how bigger problems seem to do away with the smaller problems. The rich suffer because of their riches. The poor suffer because of their poverty. People without a family suffer because they have no family. People with a family suffer because they have a family. The solution to one problem can be the creation of the next problem. I need a better job. You get a better job, you have to learn the new job. I want to be in a relationship, you have to figure out how to be in a relationship. I want to change my career, you have to learn a new career. I want children. Just the solution to one problem just creates another one. There's always going to be, I don't know that problem would be the right way to do it. There's always going to be something to figure out. Misery equals avoiding problems. happiness equals action. So not so much what's going on around you as if you're actually jumping these little hurdles in life. Each time you jump one of these little hurdles, that's basically what he's talking about, how happiness is produced. Not by big things, because it's something that does not last. And I think the way that he explained that, very simple. It's like getting the house of your dreams. Oh, get the house of my dreams. And you get the house, and you like your house. But how happiness is not a lasting thing. It's something that has to be chipped at daily. Which, why setting huge goals and obtaining them might not be as fulfilling as setting small ones and obtaining small goals. The value of suffering. War strengthens the humble and makes the weak bitter. And then he told this little story. They'd put these people in this simulator to have all these buttons. And they'd be like, when you hit the right series of buttons, the light will flash. And the series of buttons is going to change. So you're going to figure out and make this light light up. So they'd put them in there for a little while, and they'd find their series of buttons. And then when they got out, they would tell the person how they figured it out. And they'd give all of these reasons. And then the person given the test would say, that light flashed incrementally at certain times, no matter what button you pushed. Our mind will do whatever it takes to make us believe that we are right. That seems a little bit like life too. Denying negative emotions leads to experiencing deeper and more prolonged negative emotions and emotional dysfunction. Denying negative emotions leads to experiencing deeper and more prolonged negative emotions and emotional dysfunction, which is something I have been currently kind of going through B&O with trying to trudge through and be okay with how things are or how people are treating me. Trying to develop a personality and attract people that they can make me feel good and I can make them feel good, not the one-sided relationships where really one kind of makes the other one feel like crap. And it's fun in the interacting, in the situation, in the conversation, but then when you go your separate ways, one may feel empty and one may feel full. So figuring out who to hang out with and how to just make that happen to where when we both leave, we're both happy. You know, not neither one feeling, used and abused. Because often I don't even know that that's what's going on till later. Like, why do I feel like crap? Okay. Constant positivity is a form of avoidance, which would just be really another way of saying denying negative emotions leads to more negative emotions. Constant positivity is a form of avoidance. Know and acknowledge what needs to change. Change it. When you choose your pain, it's tolerable and celebrated. And he gave an example of a guy who had a gun held to his head and was like, look, you're going to run this marathon, or I'm killing you, and I'm killing your family. He's going to get it done. He's going to get through it. It's not going to be a satisfying experience versus somebody who says, you know what, I want to run a marathon. And they train for it, and they have a support system, and they do it. It can be done both ways. But on the inside, when you choose your pain of choosing to run a marathon and choosing to run through it and going through the pain of growth and training and strength, it makes you feel good. Take responsibility regardless of who's at fault. Willingness to discover and improve failure. That's just like coming out of a dang delusion. We'll kind of get to that a little further on. Being able to accept no and to say no. Expectations. Putting too much on others or too much on yourself. Both difficult things to do. This is a good one. We are always wrong. When we learn life, we go from wrong to slightly less wrong. There's no correct dogma or perfect ideology. There is only what my experience has shown me to be true through my life. Which creates empathy, especially when you've gone through situations that others have. And you can be like, well, I understand why that person is acting the way they do. Because I can think back on a time when there were people that'd be, what the hell is wrong with him? And it's like, I hate to tell you, Brian, but you have been that guy. And I probably will always be that guy who is just a little, maybe a lot crazy. Because what's right today for me may not have been right last week. And I'm about to move to Tennessee, and I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they were like, well, you know, you should really do this, and this before you move. And I was like, you know what? I am not going to say you're wrong. And when I get there, I might be like, damn, if I would have just listened, this would have been easier. But no, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm going to do, I've planned things out. And they never go as planned, but they always work out. Certainty is the enemy of growth. Knowing you're right. In the last 3, 4, 5 years, I have really just, I started doing this podcast. Let's say this again. I put off starting doing this podcast because back in 2017, 2018, I started writing a lot, just journaling and writing and seeing where it would go and what would happen, what I would learn and what I would discover. I ended up in Santa Cruz, California, in a homeless shelter, and I was on my way to making enough money where I could finally get a place within like a month or two. And then I flew to Hawaii on Oahu. I was there for a week and I just really lost it. A mental freaking breakdown. And flew back home to Baton Rouge. And that writing and that journaling really led me to some places and ideas that were a lot of fun. But 2 or 3 years later, I looked back and I went and read some of that stuff, and it just disgusted me. Felt sorry for that guy. Was embarrassed. And so I was waiting for the time when I knew what the hell I was doing to start doing something like journaling again. And when I finally figured this out was when I decided to start putting it back out to the world. We are always wrong. When we learn life, we go from wrong to slightly less wrong. There's no correct dogma or perfect ideology. There's only what my experience has shown me to be true. And when it really hit the heart that there's never going to come a time when you're going to put art out there that you won't look back later and kind of pity the guy that was believing that. I was like, you know what? There's never going to be the right time. It's just time to start recording, start talking, put your little chords together. You're just a goofy son of a gun from Houston, Texas, raised in Baton Rouge. You're never going to have it right. Just start putting it out there and see what happens. Not necessarily who listens or all that, but see what happens to me. Just through commitment of growth and really art. We're all pieces of art. We're all God's creatures made to give back to the rest of God's creatures. This is my way of doing it. So the next notes were, I don't say find yourself. I say never know who you are, so you can keep recreating yourself. Keep striving and rediscovering, which forces you to stay humble in your judgments and accepting the differences in others. Also, a firm belief that God and the angels do the work. Because we are generally the worst observers of ourselves. When we are angry, jealous, or upset, we're usually the last ones to figure it out. Am I protecting my ego with emotions? Which is a defense mechanism that works. Get mad, get pissed off. People will stay away. For me, when I'm acting that way, I'm usually processing some things, and Best I keep my mouth shut. So I do. And I don't think there's anything wrong with shutting down to the rest of the world when my mind is in a place where I don't need to be talking to people, because I'll go down a rabbit hole of saying things, and by the time I get to the end of it, I don't even believe what I'm saying. I'll get to sitting down, and because I like to play my guitar and I like to write little songs, and I'll go down a little rabbit hole, and I'll get so hyper focused, and then come back and be like, that's not really how I feel or what I have to say at all. Those are feelings and emotions, not necessarily the outcome or the facts. I don't know if that makes any sense. Those are the feelings and emotions, not necessarily the outcome and the facts. And I use it often. Look, don't talk to me. I don't really want to talk to you. But it can be a very dangerous thing, especially to stay set in your ways. Am I protecting my ego with my emotions? Whether it's to make jokes out of everything, to be angry about everything. That's a hard lesson to learn, to just sit on and to carry through and to be okay with whatever. Okay. Oh, well, here we go. This is a personal right here. I've been one who handed down pain to the ones that I say I love, and still don't know how to have healthy conversations. So often I avoid conversations, trying to make things better with a child or family or roommates or coworkers, and just say something stupid. It just it sucks. It'd be like I was trying to make things better. All I did was make them worse. And I think that kind of comes down to what goes in comes out. And I'm a mixed up person, hardly stable, but I know that. The one who is crazy and thinks they're okay, they're the dangerous ones. I try not to talk nearly as much as I used to. And this is back in the book. He said in Russia, people were brutally honest. If you suck, they told you you sucked. If you were being stupid, they told you were being stupid. Which is the opposite of what my life and my experiences have told me here in America. Not necessarily true like 2 + 2 = 4, but if you suck here, people are likely to give you an attaboy and let you keep on being terrible at life. You know, when you're screwing up and being a fool around here, people just hold your head up, boy. Keep on going. You're doing great. It's not how it is in Russia. They're keeping it real in Russia. You know what, boy? You are doing terrible. Not here in America. We are crabs in a bucket, baby. Got to figure it out alone or fight your way out. Maybe that's why we have entitlement issues. Everyone telling the dumbass how proud they are and they just deserve better. Wondering why we got entitlement issues when I've been just a fucked up, shitty, horrible, broke ass person with people all around. Hold your head up, you're doing great. Man, fuck you. I appreciate the positivity, but it'd be nice for at least one person to keep it real. He also says, dogs don't sit around wondering about their career. And cats don't sit around wondering if they would have done something better. Monkeys don't argue over for future possibilities. And fish don't swim around wondering if other fish would like them more if they had longer fins. Only humans have that ability. And I'd like to end it on kind of a funny note, but I'm quite sure there's some grandpa's German shepherd sitting around watching TV, wishing that he was a cadaver hunting dog, running through the rubble, trying to find them dead bodies right after the fire or the bomb went off. And cats, they don't ever get lost. They learn from their experiences probably better than humans. What was the other one? Fish. Maybe they are in competition. I mean, in Finding Nemo, he sure was proud of his woman and missed her when she was gone. And I really don't have anything to say about monkeys. Don't really know any monkeys. But that was the subtle art of not giving a fuck. And I think when I picked it up, I thought it might be kind of a lazy-ish, do nothing kind of book, and it did teach a lot of paradoxes, but it was a good read, so I enjoyed that. This one's longer than they usually are. Anyways, peace out. God bless. Have a good day.